And we're live. It's Thursday night.
All
It's
right.
Coding with Fire. I'm EJ.
And I'm
And
Ian.
tonight we're super excited. We have like a lot of cool things lined up. And most importantly, we have our special guest, RJ Andrews, who is joining us. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out and, you know, chat with us, do some things.
Howdy.
All right. So, I'm super stoked. RJ's here. I'm a big fan of your book, and so just let people know you should get it if you don't have it. Um, but I think it just has a lot of great stuff, and some of it is really relevant to things that we think about, we like try to build with and play with, right? So, for one thing, you have a chapter about design,
Mm.
which for me was like really eye-opening or mind-expanding.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, we've been doing a lot. We've been
I
sort of
guess
treading
because,
in the world of like floor
yeah,
space and like virtual like spatializing knowledge as well as visualizing it, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, well, that is our trade, trying to create meaning in space. And what's interesting about, there's many things interesting about museums. One is that a museum object is just it's just this channel for layers and layers and layers of meaning to flow through. Whether you're a little kid or you're some sophisticated academic, a museum object is it's going to fire up some response in you. And then you have the constraints of the actual architecture, the building, the gallery, and and then the experience, because you are a real physical person with a real physical body. You have a meat vehicle,
Right.
and that meat vehicle is going to interact with these museum objects, which are these conduits of meaning. And I think that each one isn't necessarily a data visualization, but when we do make data visualizations, we are arranging very, very similar encounters between people who still have their meat vehicles, like they still have all of that. Um, and maybe the data visualization isn't necessarily a physical object, but that doesn't mean that all those experiential cues aren't the same.
Totally.
yeah. EJ and I have been talking a lot lately about also bringing in like cameras. Like, so EJ is pretty good with a Cinema 4D,
Yeah.
right? Like
Mm.
a
Well, I'd play around. I dabble.
3D. And you dabble. All right, well, you can definitely make cool stuff with it, and we've been looking at more and more. Also, can we use that to yeah, let you use more of that feeling of your body moving through space as you watch a visualization unfold? And been playing more with when stuff happens over time, seeing it in 3D has it will have a dramatic effect, right?
I love. So, do
Mm.
you want to talk about these tree maps? Because I think it's a great segue into the visualization we were looking at before.
Yeah. So one stream, EJ and I played with I've got some data of like every D3 API method, right? And then it's categorized into these groups, Mike Bostock came up with, I guess.
Hmm.
And so each module is placed into one of these categories. Each module has a bunch of methods. And the idea and they all have a bunch of examples too. Not all of them do. Like I had one version where I was showing which ones do and don't, but like enough of them do that you could imagine if you walked into a virtual reality space
Mm.
and you were in like the layout hall, and like you interact with the examples not as these like individual documents, but as like interactive exhibits along the
Mm.
way, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and so we also in this process played with exporting from
No, I
observable
totally forgot
visualization
about
into
this part.
Illustrator.
I made a
Yeah,
hallway.
I think this is something. Yeah, so EJ marked it up, right? Like annotated it as more of a floor plan.
Right.
Um, and also like squished, move some stuff around. Like we decided, okay, it doesn't if you're creating these spaces and it's sort of proportional, it doesn't have to be
Mm.
exact data visualization because like once you're in the space, you get a feel for the size, but you don't like you're not trying to measure it at that moment, right?
Yeah, one of the classic museum architectural layout, flourishes is that a lot of museums are timelines, meaning that like you start in medieval art and you progress through the Renaissance, and then you get into 18th century portraiture. Eventually, you'll hit Impressionism, and then you see Picasso before you get to Andy Warhol, right? And like you can walk a timeline through painting. You can walk a timeline, through ancient civilization, and that's like something that's always delighted me. The example I gave in the book was the Anthropology Museum in Mexico City, which is my favorite museum in our hemisphere, because the whole museum is just one giant timeline. And so, like, what's the dominant metaphor for the arrangement? Is it, the most important collection of APIs, or the APIs that people learn first, or like how do you arrange these? And right now, like, it's very tree map, um, kind of packed rectangle, which is fine if this is a museum in Manhattan, because you have to make use of every square inch. But like, maybe it's not. Maybe it's like in upstate New York and it's in the Catskills, and like you actually have a nice estate and you can actually arrange your gallery so that they're connected, but like they're a little bit more
Right. Well, even
loosely.
beyond that, what if it is in fact in virtual reality when, real estate is unlimited and you could absolutely just put it out,
Mm.
stretch it out into an infinite hallway, right? You're not limited by
Yeah, yeah,
architecture in
yeah.
any way. So, have you played with Mozilla Hubs at all?
Mm-mm.
We've like dabbled a little bit with it. It's interesting. It's like I don't know if it was originally designed as like a VR environment, but basically like you're a character in virtual space, and there's like a bunch of different rooms that you can choose from. And we played around with it by like you
Mm.
can drag screenshots just onto the browser and then pin them. So like we did one where we like just pinned a bunch of screenshots around and then like talked about ideas. And that was, mildly
Hmm.
interesting and entertaining, but the next step was then to build our own studio set where like I had to use the Mozilla Hubs tool, which crashed on me a dozen times in the process, to like, make a
Mm.
floor and put a table. And it was just interesting, the idea. I've never had that amount of control over my workspace before, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's like a
yeah.
whole level of thinking that I'm not used to engaging in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, this topic is very related to memory palaces. Um,
Interesting.
the memory technique, where you create either a real or artificial architectural model in your head, and you place objects across that architectural model, and then you can revisit them, and because each individual object is associated with an idea, it's easier to remember those ideas. I think, this was like in the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock
Mm.
series, like that, like his memory palace is like essentially a character in the show. Um, but they've been used, forever as memory techniques. And I think what's important about memory palaces, um, vis-a-vis visualization, is that a lot of our really complex um, visualization methods are not anchored in space, meaning like you can rerun the network um, layout algorithm again and get a totally different
Mm.
orientation. And so, the same circle will pop up somewhere else. And it's really important for people to sort of fix orientation. And if you can have some logic to it, like, wonderful. But, at minimum, like, don't move things around every time you see the thing, because we are so spatially oriented. And the memory palace not only is something staying in the same place, like the rooms are staying in the same place, right? And so we get very comfortable with this idea of fixing things in space,
Totally.
and revisiting them over time.
That's really interesting. So it almost reframes what visualization is, right? Like you're just giving people tiny memory palaces as quickly as little bite size, like to inhabit and interpret. That's a really interesting way of framing it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I like that.
So I wanted to. We were looking at tree maps. I wanted to look at the graphic that you had brought up, which also had some tree maps in it. Do you want to talk a little bit about like what the graphic is and where you found it? And Ian, you had
Sure.
that,
So
right?
David,
Yeah, it's
All
up
right,
here.
cool.
Yeah.
yeah. So this is an ethnographic map, and in I think you can expand it so we can see the whole thing.
And Biggin.
Yeah, with those four arrows and big in it. Yeah. So um, this is an ethnographic map of Macedonia from I think just before World War One. It's in French. I don't know if it is French. So this is not something I like know the prominence of or anything like that. It just really caught my
Well, yeah. How,
attention.
how did you
A, because
find it?
it's
I guess is
huge.
the
Yeah, so I mean, David Rumsey, I'm lucky to consider him a colleague, a friend, and he is I think America's most prolific private map collector. And what's incredible about David Rumsey, amongst many things, is that he has his own photography studio, and he photographs all of his work in super HD resolution and puts it up online so everybody can see it for
that's
free.
amazing.
And not only that, like he built, he has a software company. He built all the technology that lets us browse this and zoom in and everything
That's
else.
awesome.
So, and so David and I have been like uh, nerding out on historic data visualization for the last few years. And so we're always trading links to check this out, check that out. And so this is the last one he sent me. And the first thing that's notable about it, which we can't appreciate on the screen, is this thing's huge. The short dimension is, I think, a meter. It's like 90 centimeters.
Really?
That's the short dimension. This thing's pretty wide. So, so like it's large. Like that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And one of the
Even
things,
trying to photograph that sounds like it's its own. Like, I guess would you tile it out and then stitch it, or like just pull a camera up so far you can see the whole thing? Like that's a whole. I don't want to. I digress, but it sounds like an amazing amount of
yeah.
work.
So that's definitely not my expertise, but the I think can you zoom in and just let it like settle in so we could see it because it's a little blurry. But the I think it's like imagine like there's a name for it, but a camera on a track, like on a
Oh,
dolly almost
interesting.
above it, and it's like and it's move it and it moves across, and then yeah, you're stitching it together with software. Um, but yeah, that and the color correction. I mean, there's like quite a lot going on. So I mean, we have, I don't know how many, 1,000 of these, little tree maps representing population. And I believe the color coding is to some sort of ethnicity. Um,
Right.
and,
Okay, there's
so we
something
have
resembling a
Greeks.
legend. Yeah.
Yes, we have some like Slavics, Bulgarians, Muslims or Mahometans, and Israelites. And it's really interesting about this graphic is it seems anti-Semitic. Again, I haven't studied it a lot, but it seems anti-Semitic because Israelites are really um, um, picked out. Like they have a very very different like othering sort of graphic
Interesting.
embellishment. And then also when you look across some of these tree maps, it seems like they're actually pushed outside of the normal tree map. So like everybody's compact and the Jews are outside.
That's
So
wild.
um so yeah, I mean, data visualization is a very powerful tool and it's been used, to exert power throughout its history. Um but what's interesting, I think, from a design perspective on this is the actual composition of these little
Agreed.
trees, um, because they're frequently really different. Like sometimes it's like this, like the big values in the corner. Like there you see a diagonal separation. Sometimes it's not compact in a single rectangle, and it's like, is this just is it haphazard? Like sometimes it's split so that it's not like in a corner, but it's actually like centered, like the divide is
Right.
centered. Um, and so like
Like make room for text too.
yeah, make room for text and
Do you
and
think do
yeah,
you
there's
think
like
they're trying to apply
staircase.
geography to it? Like if the like Greek neighborhood is in the north, they put it in the top of the tree map or something? Like
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, maybe like maybe each one itself is a little map. I don't know what it I don't know really what's going on, but what I know is it's weird.
yeah.
It's like really weird, and it's weird in a way that like when you make stuff by
Yes,
hand, like with
I was
pencil
gonna.
and paper, it's really easy to have the freedom to just
It
be
feels like
weird.
a pot that like is like looks symmetrical, but when you look close has like fingerprints and bends to it. Because it reminds me of like my early graphics days in Illustrator, where like a piece would take a long time, and by the time you ended it, like you're doing it different from the time you started it. And also when you said it's so big, like I wonder just like about the artist or whoever was creating this, like just doing these tree maps for like 7 days, and on the eighth day it was just like it goes here, fuck it, to the right or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, we could look back at the legend and see if there's any
yeah. Are there
text
any
like that's
clues
worth
as to like what the arrangement is,
yeah,
or
yeah, what the arrangement is. But I mean the question, especially with coding with fire, is like so we have, you can see that there is like some interesting on the right, like like some spatial, like this is kind of cool. It goes from like from 2 points to 3 points, and then up to 4 points, which is kind of interesting. A line, a triangle, and then a square. Like that's like very obvious actually, but it's
it's
not something that
super
like we think
cool.
about.
Yeah, that's super cool. I want to steal that for sure. Now that you point that out, the line triangle to square is the 1, 2, 3 scale is pretty sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and then you get these weird wide rectangles too that we were looking at before. Of like, what does it mean to make a wide rectangle versus square? Which I like is kind of the same visual space, I would say, but I don't.
Mm.
One
Yeah,
thing,
so go
oh,
ahead, Ian.
well, I guess what EJ just mentioned brought something up as you were describing earlier, RJ, how they were made. Like, I was thinking, what if they're not tree maps, but they're unit charts that like try to arrange themselves
Mm,
somehow. And if they
Mm-hmm.
can't really figure it out perfectly, fine, they just stay that way and then they look weird. But
Mm.
like but that's what's kind of charming about this map too, right? Is that like when it is a little bit different, you're like, oh, that's something nice about that. And you can see this as like a grid of units that ran out in a
Mm.
way, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
if you have each unit, then the proportion of the population is maintained.
Yeah, so if we can
I don't
fix on
know.
that big blob in the lower right, maybe if we center it. So, and to the point earlier, like there is definitely an element here where you're trying to fit all the little, like you're just fitting it in so that you can still see all of the outlying villages around Monastery. And then also like this is obvious, I think, but it should be said, like the reason why this is interesting is it's like it's engaging. Like having them all be different, like makes it like it makes it harder to make a some sort of like numbers driven, like is this two bigger, is it three bigger, like it makes it harder to make that kind of like academic viz comparison.
right.
But who the hell
Yeah.
cares? Like the role of viz honestly is usually not to record and encode like very very specific values. It's more about like if we can get your eyes on this page for longer and get you engaged, like then we've done our
Totally.
job.
And it also like it almost discourages that sort of misreading of it. It's like, no, like this is freestyle. Like you don't look at it that
Yeah.
like it's a sort of different approach, and it does. I don't want to get too far into. I just like the way the texture of the paper in this looks. Yeah, I mean, like this also has such a
Mm,
different look just visually from most other things you see, just in terms of like the really cool textures and like half patterns that you see come up in the different areas. Like I really
mhm.
like this like diagonal pattern they have. I guess the color scheme should not be underrated. Like it's a pretty cool color scheme also that might be worth stealing.
Yeah, and I think that there is something happening where they have Slavics as sort of a mix between Greeks and Bulgarians. Like there's a relationship in
Oh,
how they're using this texture. I,
interesting.
I don't know enough about the area to know whether or not that makes sense. Um, but there's right because you're using that same blue, and that yellow is a some kind of overprint, I think.
Yeah, I love the overprint look. So like that just so the overprint. Now you just have to add randomization every time we draw a rectangle. With just every 100 rectangles you draw, the its stroke gets pushed off it, and you get that weird overprint.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course that's like, it's always a question like how much do you want to imitate, versus how much do you use how much do you allow the current form, to drive some of these things. There's also a lot of this text is on splines, which is really lovely. And that's a little bit more of a cartography thing, but that also makes that also like makes it engaging. Um,
I
and there's
noticed
just
that.
a lot
Yeah.
going on here that was just natural for them. That's not as natural for us. And also like this, it's like a very geometric font that they're using for
Yeah,
the smaller villages that I think is really really interesting as well. I look at that capital K on Cornisore. I mean, wow.
yeah, it looks very hand done.
Yeah, and this I love this hill shading. I think is what this is,
Wow.
right? Like
Mm,
it's
yeah.
freaking pen stroke by pen stroke. I guess this is where plotters also come in
Yeah.
Yeah.
for the busy novelist.
Right.
I mean,
But
this is a yeah. I mean, you could do a map in this style on plotter Twitter, right? And it would like I think it would work. It would work really well, I think, actually.
mhm. So I mean, going the other way in a sense of like EJ and I have been messing around with this Cinema 4D pipeline, kind of
Mm,
like how could we take our data-driven visuals and then have Cinema 4D treat that as like a scene and light it up and put materials and make it, look interesting. And I think that brings up like you shared the Lego topographic map, right? We
mm.
should
Oh
mention
yeah,
that.
that was a whole fun
EJ,
yeah. I'll try and find it on my Twitter. Like I saw it go by on Twitter, and it like embedded itself into my brain, and then later on the stream we just sort of like found ourselves making a recreation of it.
Hmm.
Let me see if I can pull it up.
Yeah, so there's like an aspect to this that's what if we captured like that essence of um, the playfulness of these tree map, right? Like whatever it is that they are,
Hmm.
we probably can't get like the text. That would be a whole different kind of thing that I think is interesting, but would take a long
Yeah,
time, maybe.
the things I was most drawn to about
Um,
this was the line triangle square scale is like super
Mm.
cool. I really like the hill shade lines. Like I'd love to find a way to your point of like that'd be a great plotter thing. Like all right, like let's make the SVG lines for it to plot out. I'm sure we can find somebody cool with an axe to draw to print it out for us. Um, I don't know. What
Mm.
about you, Ian?
Yeah. Well, the 3-point scale thing, let me go back. I do like that. And it kind of reminds me of something I've done once and wanted to do more of is like, excuse me, at this point, like 3 items, how am I going to draw a line, triangle, a square? I might actually just draw an emoji.
Mm.
And because there's probably like a line, triangle, and square emoji, right? Or
Right. Yeah.
something similar. But then that opens up the door of like, well, I can just start drawing emoji now.
Mm.
Whether or not I should, I don't know. But
I wish emojis
um,
were more beautiful. Because that's like what I like about the line, triangle, square scale is like how reductive it is, right? Like it's kind of freeing in how much it limits you, right?
Well, maybe not emoji per se, but like a UTF character.
Yes.
yeah, it could be a Unicode. Yeah, like one of the, yeah.
Talking about text, I have like one other quick. So I did this talk last week, um, on the bar chart, and I showed 100 historic bar charts in like 30 and
That
25
sounds
minutes
awesome.
maybe,
Is that recorded
and each
anywhere?
one each, and each one was like different and weird. And our chat reminds me of the very final one I showed, which I think is just like a beautiful bar chart because one of the things it does, Ian, I'll drop a link to you via Twitter.
Okay.
One of the things, hopefully this link works.
Oh, and I can
Um,
share this David Rumsey map with the chat in Twitch.
But one of the things, yeah, this is it. So one of the things that this, what this bar chart does that I really love is it uses a spline that follows the shape of the top of the bar chart to label it. And it's like really simple, and it's something that, yeah, here we go.
Whoa.
So I mean, they're not just on diagonals, like they're actually curved. And almost like a summary line, right? Like if you had like a smoothed average on the top of this, like and the annotation, the label actually does the work that your moving average.
It's so
line.
cool. It's like as if you draped
it's
the text
really,
over it, right? Like it falls over it gently.
Yeah.
So, but this is something we could do. Like this is definitely like
Because that's like just a cardinal like ease, right? Like, what's the really nice one?
Well, you
like,
can. Well, I think that what I'm thinking about is like yeah. I mean, you get you get a path that follows the chart, right? Using D3 and all that good stuff. But you can actually set a text, like you can write SVG text along the path.
Yep.
So then you don't show the path and you show the text. So you could imagine essentially like a programmatic attempt at this, and it wouldn't have all of the charm, but it would be pretty interesting.
Well, could you take that moving average and smooth it out and then just translate it above by certain number of units and write the text along it?
Yeah, I think.
All right, I'm so fully in on this. Like, I made a notebook, so I'm gonna put the notebook in the chat.
Have a winner.
Here's my main question: is what should the data be? My first instinct was COVID because I'm terrible. But if anybody has any better, more cheerful data to drape great lines on top of, I'm open to it. I guess you could do election data. This is what's on my mind right now.
I mean, this original data set has to do with transportation and the increase in trains over
That's
time.
fun.
So
and it goes up, huh?
Like,
so I guess our version would be going down.
Yeah, and it goes. I mean, we could do COVID deaths and like have it going up.
No.
But like that's not like, it like federal highway, total federal highway
Here's what
miles
you
or
made me
something
think
over
of.
time, would
was
resonate
like
with the
MTA
original
ridership.
theme.
Like I work with an agency called 2M that does data visualization, and they recently did one on MTA ridership. Let me see if that data set is accessible.
It's a COVID one.
So this is by share.
This one isn't over time.
What do you mean?
It's by state. You can't. You also need a title that's like long, right? Like you need a label. Like you actually have to write out a sentence length label to drape it over a thing.
All right, I think I have MTA data for you. Ridership equals.
Nice radial stack bar chart. I saw a radial stack bar chart the other day that completely blew my mind. It was completely zany. But I don't want to distract us.
No, we do this all the time. Did you see?
Kind of how it works.
Uh, yeah. Shit. This Carrie Rodden published this today, I think,
Oh
or
yeah,
yesterday.
the Inception. It's like
Yeah.
the city of Paris unfolding.
Yeah. So like it's talking. She's talking about all these things, and then
Yes, I love
you
this.
see like the sunburst.
So whenever I found myself using like radial stack bar chart, I've done this in two projects this year. I actually use like half circles because like the half circles you can do a left to right thing and make use of that. Often like going through time, and it's just easier to read and especially on a screen. Like, are you really going to be like, you can't really turn a screen around and look at stuff from different angles because the screen turns with you. Um,
I'm just seeing if I could like find data sets out there already. I think some kind of weather data might be
oh yeah, we could
you'd
do
annotate different parts of the
Oh,
year or
weather data
something,
is a
right?
cool idea. Yeah.
And weather.
There you.
average global temperature goes up over
Oh
time
boy.
Oh,
recently.
didn't I just wasn't there also an ice pack one?
Oh yeah, that cylinder.
Ice melting one. I just shared. I don't know. I
Yeah,
gotta pull it up again. Um,
we
where
talked
did
too
it go?
much.
Yeah, some kind
I got it.
of. I think I'm like just opening random shit. All right, you got it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like it like circles around a cylinder. I didn't even notice because I was looking on my phone. I really like the rotating labels in the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh yeah, we did get distracted. Okay, so I tried to get the MTA data, but it turns out that it's only for like 1 month at a time, but it's for all the stations.
Mhm.
So I could give you 2 months, and you could draw between them, while I get more months. Or what's that? What were you?
Um,
You're just trying to
we're
find
trying.
a good increasing data set, something that is going up, so we can label it like a spline over top, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't think this
And we have
MTA data is going to
three
work.
different kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Come
I mean
on, you know
this one uses a stack, but we don't necessarily.
the problem. You know how easy it would be to put this in COVID data because we have it on all our other notebooks.
Here's one.
Because then, sorry, I'm getting dark. You could overlay the holiday on top of the line as it goes up. So,
Mm.
4th of
Why don't
July,
we?
Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
You could
I mean,
filter
okay,
this to three categories, and like
yeah,
just have fun with that.
because then you could try to have there's like maybe a story, um, for some that like increased greatly after 2009, right? What's purple
Mm.
Yeah, do you want to maybe
construction?
cut it at
Like,
2000 or something like that and just look at that end stretch? Oh, it is at
like
2000.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
the
2009,
the
sorry.
problem with this
2006.
data is like this data is very seasonal,
Mm,
and so you have like this bumpy road kind of like feature.
Yeah, so and that season, you can what we kind of want to be able to do is zoom in a bit on the time and like zoom in a bit, have more space
Mm.
for each of our series that we want to talk about. But then
Yeah,
we want to
I
kind of
mean
annotate
it'd be
along
really
it.
neat to actually just transform this into a seasonal view, right? Like I think it looks like there's monthly data here at least, and we could look at it seasonally.
mm.
Um, And then because what you'd see is like for some of these industries, it spikes with the holidays because people want to buy stuff, and some don't.
That does sound
Get
interesting.
get some Zan Armstrong
Mm,
in the mix.
Yeah,
good
yeah.
call. Good shout out.
Yeah. For everybody who hasn't seen it, Zan gave a great open viz talk a few years ago on titled like all data is seasonal, I think, something like that. I'll try to find the link. YouTube. That's really worthwhile.
Sorry, my cat is yelling at me.
I'm opening up a bunch of stuff that's hopefully related. I didn't.
Yeah, what are you doing
I'm
over
not sure if
there?
I've seen Zan make a notebook about seasonal. But here's one, and I think another example of doing multiple
Mm.
area charts.
I have
Um,
uh, data on mobility during the pandemic. It just goes down. I don't know if that's useful.
Hmm. I think that would be easy. I mean, we just need some data so we can like make some splines and get to
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
ranking
I think
pretty.
we fork this or pull whatever this
Yeah,
data set is.
just fork that, I think, is the best way.
Well, you already made a notebook, right? I can just
Yeah, but I can rename the title. I don't think I contributed a whole lot.
um,
So let's
okay.
talk through it. So the first thing I think I would want to do is take whatever thing we're labeling, get the like cardinal interpolation, which is super smooth, maybe add like 10% more to it so it sits above it, and then make it invisible. I don't know how to do the really cool letter draping that was in the original. Like, would you? First of all, it's probably annoying to do in SVG. I would say maybe. Like, do you want to do this in Canvas? Would that make it easier?
No, I think it's better in SVG.
Better in
I think
SVG?
it'd be easier
Yeah, it's probably easier doing
there because
deep
SVG has a
debug and stuff.
special. Well, it also has like a special text path thing, so you can just be like, "Hey, take this text that I wrote and make it follow this path." I don't think Canvas has the same thing. Let's see. So we said we want to get a couple of these. Oh, okay. It's a date and then it's all the categories. So when we do make a series, the series is stacked on the columns. I think we want to say, like, let's make a columns array, and we'll say, I think construction. What else? Self-employed? No, it's, I guess, transportation, no, or information. Information and self-employed. How's that sound?
Oh, I just found a Bostock graphic that is pretty close to what we want to do, I think. Oh, nice.
Thanks for
Yeah,
sharing
thanks
that.
for putting the link in there. So check this out. It's not exactly what we want, but it might be a good lead. Where Bostock sort of he puts them inside to label, and then Veltman has another approach for doing this, but for labeling the insides of shapes, which is again not exactly it. But maybe there's elements of this that
I
can be taken.
I I remember somebody made a splash a couple years ago by labeling the state of California with a spline. Do you remember that? And it was like a big deal.
Oh, I guess you can't see EJ's screen right now. EJ, did you put that Feltman one in the
Maybe it is
I'll
Slack
in
put it in
chat?
the
the yeah.
chat.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is because I can see it in.
Because they use, I guess it's called text path, And it works the same way like SVG filters do, where you define the path as like a filter, and then when you make a text, you're like, use this path and give it the reference. Which I think is what happens here. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's it. I can see it now.
So that seems like pretty easy magic.
All right, well, I got this data set trimmed down like we said.
Sweet. Yo, Hell on Earth is, what's up? Sorry you didn't get a notification. So you forked that notebook and trimmed it down to just like 3 things, like it was in our inspiration. Do you want to pull up the inspiration real quick?
I do. I also want to make, what is it you always do? The width times something?
0.6 or 7.2 or whatever.
Just wanted to have more space. Let me also share this with the team and publish it. Draped, publish. All right, so I'll share that in the chat. So the thing we are trying to play with is get this beautiful text going and following a curve. So there's nothing particularly stopping us from, for example, in ours here, having this be bars or like a, actually, I think we can change it real fast. Where's the line or the path?
Yeah, because the only thing that's really a line in this is the label that sits on top of the bars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why did it do that? D3. There we go. There's something where you can like have it be monotonic or something, where it just goes in straight lines.
I think you're right. It is. Mono definitely sounds right. I don't know what the rest of that word is. You're talking about the interpolation type?
Yes, curve, I believe. Curve factoring. There's a bunch of curves.
Yeah, curve monotone X, I believe, is what you want. Or cardinal, which is my personal favorite.
I was thinking step, actually.
You were thinking, to make a bar chart out of it? All right, I feel you. All right.
To make it like match what we were looking at exactly.
Okay.
I don't know. But it's very cheap to find out.
What's up, Archer?
Interject like some terminology. These 100% width bar charts in a lot of the history are not considered bar charts. They're considered curves. And the line charts are called, curve charts. So this is like what we're like this stepped line chart is like more of a curve than a bar, like in a historic, like from a historic perspective. And I think today we read it more as a bar than a line.
That's really interesting.
I mean, it is still daily data, right? So you could think of it as a bar.
Yeah, you just have to imagine the separation. Like, you can't really pull them apart, right? Is the only difference.
I guess, well, in this case, our data just happens, I think, like, the thing that we were admiring, this data like, fits in these stacks, right? But ours is, like, closer. I mean, we could... This is also yearly data. This is only for 40 years, almost 35 years or something. So like, we have more than 35 steps in ours,
right?
In terms of like how much we're trying to show. So it could be just like one 2 years or something to start.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of interesting because we are like playing with the design technique and the technical technique, but like the story, so
That
to
looks
speak,
much
would
better.
be, you know.
This seems like it'll be way more doable.
Mhm.
Let's drape some splines, man.
Shape some splines. All right, so basically I want line, there's an area here. I want a line chart to match my area chart, but it's gonna work. It's basically only gonna have one Y. And I think it's D0 because it's our series. Okay, so it's gonna do one for each series.
So you get 3 lines.
No, D1. Yeah, so that line, well, okay, I have to make the 3 lines up here. So there's select all path series. So I'm going to say path.area class area true. And I want to do this again, essentially with drape. And I'm going to call line instead of area here. And let's just color this line black for now.
That looks crazy.
Whoa! All right,
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely take it. But of course, yeah, it's an area, or it's a
Yeah, you
fill
gotta
here,
stroke.
so we want this
Yeah.
to be stroke.
You might need to make the fill transparent too.
Yeah, I think I typically just make it none to like.
None. There you go.
And all right, so one thing, I mean, EJ, you mentioned just translate it up, right? Was one.
Yeah, I wanted to translate it in the data. That felt better than doing it afterwards. I don't know why.
I want to do the opposite.
Okay.
Hear me out.
Well, I think, I mean, I think you want to translate them all a little bit differently. I think because I think you have to fit it to what the data shows. Like the orange one might have to go down into the blue, but maybe you could color orange, and then you could drop the blue quite a lot, and then pop the green up above. You know, something like that.
Totally.
I love it.
That's yeah, that's awesome. So you want to control
So
them
let's
all
do it.
independently, right?
The translation of each one independently.
Dope.
But I think you could color it systematically.
Oh, for sure. Ian, give me a little 3 numbers I can change.
Give you 3 numbers you can
Or
change.
just give me
What do you mean?
if I have 3 arrays, each one is the translation for each line, then I can tune it so they sit in the right place in the chart.
Yeah, I was setting that up. So I'll set you
You're
up
the best.
one translations as an array, and we'll say x is 0, y is -20, and do that 3 times. And I'm just gonna do them in order for
Okay.
now.
Love
I
it.
don't know.
Me and my translations are going to the
we
top.
would think about that more. Yes, move them around. I'm done with them. All right, so this is going to move them all the same now, I think.
Yes. They'll all be pushed
translations on.
down 20, right? Doesn't seem like... So the first one...
I didn't do it right. Let's see. Oh, that should have worked. Oh, it's not working because... I need to do a string literal. Okay.
There we go. I exaggerated it for effect, just to make sure it was working.
And we can now bring back the key.
I don't know if I...
Oh, I guess we want... The blue one shouldn't be blue.
Yeah, no. Well, or you could use the D3 color to do darker, right? Like to get a darker version of that blue. What do they do in the original? It's just sort of black,
I like
right?
it. I like it.
Yeah, it's just black.
Does that do it?
Is it in order from bottom to top, you insane person? in translations?
I do not know. Why? I think this prettier thing is like messing up my code. I don't understand what happened. D3.color this thing. Put this parenthesis. So yeah, that made
Seems
it
good.
darker. Okay, okay. I make it a lot darker. Oh, what?
Yeah, it's in the translations go from bottom to top in case anybody ever wants to change that again.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And they're
because it's stacked from bottom to
yeah,
top.
and their directions are in reverse. So if you do negative y, it actually pulls you up, which is counterintuitive for me personally.
I feel like also I want these to be ordered differently. I want the orange one to be at the bottom anyway. Just occurs to me. So if
Well, at the top, because it's thinnest? Question mark.
I don't know, let's try it. Oh, what did I do?
I mean,
It changed the colors
Yeah.
because okay, all right, we're gonna have to deal with that.
and my translation.
So this put it at the top. So information is at the top. Self-employed at the bottom. Construction. I still feel like information should be at the bottom. How does that work? It's at the top. I'll put it there, I guess. Oops. Yeah, this is more. That's crazy how the order of these things. Right? It's like now you can see that, like, okay, relative to these two, construction went way more. This blue one doesn't seem to change all that much. But this one,
And if we're trying to get an example just to show off our splines, then we might want to reverse these stacks, because you can actually, like, I don't know how you're gonna label, like the blue label would have to go in the orange at this point, and then the orange label would have to go in the green, and then, but if we flip it, I think that we can, the blue can be in the blue, the orange can be in the blue, and then the green can be up on top.
yeah, yeah. And this was interesting because they had a small one and a huge one and then a small one. So it's like it works with the space almost, like you in our, like you're saying, we can get transforms that make this go along the middle of the orange, above the green, and in the blue, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, I wonder if we just take all the base colors and just lighten them all like a lot, because the original one, the colors
It's
are
super
pretty light,
washed
and then we
out.
can just use black. Yeah, we can just use black, right, on for all of our text, and it might be enough just if we place them cleverly.
Agree.
oh, I just scrolled down to see what.
Hey, no,
Ego's doing.
spoiler alert.
Hang on, I was trying to pull up my columns because I feel like, yeah. What's fun about this is that we are like we're kind of like, it's like you said, it's the pen and paper of code, right? Like, let's get our things and write it down, put the pencil down, and then like start inking it. So now we want to choose colors, and this is something I always struggle with, and I feel like I'm fortunate to have two people on the stream that could definitely weigh in here. What's like, this is just using the default D3. Let's see, where is the color scale? D3 scale ordinal, and this. So if we just replace columns and colors, we get our own. I guess I did,
Okay.
like we have. I kind of like that actually.
Can we just eyedropper on our inspiration?
Yeah.
How do you do
Can
that?
someone help me do that?
I don't know.
Isn't there a OSX?
So the app that I used to do this is no longer compatible in the new era of OS X Catalina. So truly, my workflow is broken, and I don't know how to select things off my screen unless I'm in an Adobe app. So if anybody has any tips on that.
Yeah.
I used Spectrum, which is 32-bit, and the developers haven't updated it. It's like
How
the best app
shouldn't
ever.
this like
Can't you open
copy it or
colors
something?
just by itself in
Copy
OS
as
X?
text? So Command Shift if I do thing here. Okay. It's an RGB.
That's cool.
Tab separated RGB. Ow.
Sorry. Color OS X utility. There's got to be a better way. There's just a bunch of apps. Maybe I'll talk one.
I don't want to stop.
I have a final flourish for this chart too that I think.
Oh.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, that feels right.
Let's add in a little noise.
Oh. Fuck yeah. Do you have any suggestions on SVG noise? Or maybe I'll just search observable for noise.
Look, that's pretty cool. You know what? I want to go with the Kenny Beats thing and just like wait for this to go high res. Take a screenshot of it.
Put it all behind.
Yeah, I'll publish this. Also, Helen Earth has made a comment about the data, and I'm not sure how to answer because I haven't read the whole thing.
Is there a reference?
Can you read it aloud? 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
just watching.
It says,
the mainstream.
Helen Arthur, he says, I find the data strange. It's unemployment, but it seems to list numbers and jobs. Is there a reference to the total workforce as it should go up and down? It's... I feel like it's an American political thing, the way that we decide what counts as an unemployed person and who gets to be in that data. Because you have to be like unemployed and actively looking for a job, I think, to be in that. So
Yeah.
it's not the same as like total workforce, really.
Correct.
So I don't really know the answer to that question other than it's complicated.
All right, so then this.
I'm looking for examples of like people like doing like noise filters or like introducing that basic noise in SVG, and I'm not finding a lot. We
Yeah,
might
there's
need to
some
innovate.
like you have to use definitions and filters.
We want FE turbulence, but we want like pixelated noise. We don't want like Perlin soft noise.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Oh,
There you go.
but then so one thing I was thinking is that we could blur this a little bit or do something. Oh, it's a little bit off.
If I write a filter def, will your cell get it? Oh, that's a good idea. If I write a filter def, will you get it in your other cell?
I believe so. I believe yeah, you can grab because it's all in the same DOM.
Right. Such an SVG
I don't know
defs.
why this thing is like.
Filter.
I know I don't do opacity. So it's kind of like
Subtle.
yeah, if you do it really low opacity, you can even do it less, and it's like almost invisible, but it's there.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it, yeah, really low opacity and then like slap a color behind it too. Um,
Oh, interesting. Let's do that. While I'm typing this, do you want to find a color?
yeah.
You talking to me?
RJ.
Okay. I'm working on figuring out how to do noise.
Yeah, it's just defaults black, but
Oh shit! Can I jump in real quick?
yes, you may. Although can you give me 2
Yeah, go
seconds?
for it.
I'll just set it to like white for now. So. All right, go ahead.
Woohoo! I'm trying to add my filter, which has like a rough paper texture to it. Maybe we'll see. Potentially. I don't know. I think I broke everything, huh?
What happened? Where are you adding the filter to?
Path.area. Is it,
Oh, nice.
or is that wrong?
I think you actually changed the adder to fill. So comment out the color. Oh wait, no, is that true?
No.
No.
You add it as a filter attribute.
SVG filter, and then it has the URL.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, so
That should have worked.
down here, yeah, right. It should have worked.
Where's your filter?
Oh, because I didn't wrap my SVG defs in an SVG. I bet it's just sitting there as random DOM elements. Is that helpful? And uncomment this. Is that anything? No, it's broken. All right, I give up. That was fun though.
No, it looks like it's working. Hang on. Wait, you did it. It worked. It turned it into paper.
Oh. But everything?
It just turned everything instead of the path. But maybe so. Is it somehow the way that you turn down what the thing is doing? Whoa! It went.
Yeah, I was just testing this. This might not be the right way. All right, now that we know that filter defs work, just comment this out, and I'm going to go back to trying to find a good SVG filter to do what we want, because I thought that this would be overlaid on top of our fill and not take over the fill entirely.
Yeah, it seemed like, and maybe it's because of the way these paths are, but you'd think that it would just do the path. The other thing we can do is make well, I don't know that we'd want to, but let's just try. You could change the fill opacity of the bars, and then some of the paper texture would come through. Especially if we turned up its opacity.
Oh shit, it's 10:06. We've been doing this for a minute. Do you want to, we're very close, I feel like. Do you want to try and put some text on these lines and we can sort of wrap this up a little bit?
Yeah, I would like to do that. Let us do that. So you figured out some text here.
Yeah, I threw a little example that I stole from an alligator.io tutorial where it's an example of one path with one set of text. So I think we just figured out a way to sort of reuse this and turn our current lines, or maybe in addition to our current lines, add some text to them. But that brings up the excellent question of what does the text say? Should it be the label?
Well,
Should it say construction, self-employed, and information? Like really like spaced out, maybe?
Oh, I think we should give ourselves just 3 strings that we can like think of to put stuff in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Lorem ipsum. And we could have a definition of each industry. Would be
That's great.
something practical.
I'm into that. I can do that while you put this together.
And you could put something. Actually, before you go further, EJ, the other thing I want to do is add an offset,
Go for it.
a start offset to each one. So it'd be
Oh
something
yeah.
like text offset, and then we'll say like 10% so that we could actually position them along the line
Mm,
um, to our heart's content. And I think that would be an interesting touch in terms of like what they were able to do historically. So, offset.
and it's these really, I mean, it's these graphic, like we call them flourishes, but it's really the care of fitting the graphic, communications to the data itself that they're able to do that. Like it's just lots and lots of options, like more and more options about how you can express the data.
Totally. Well, that's the interesting thing about doing things by hand, right? Is that when you have a repetitive job, you almost feel it's like your responsibility as a human to like do more. You know what I mean? To add some more intricacies. Like if you have the opportunity to make those choices, if you're drawing a million little tree maps, I mean, like I think most humans are compelled to, after the 100th tree map you drew the same way, to think of a
Hmm.
different way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's this idea of when like um and we're doing a little bit right now with like SVG filters, but you can imitate programmatically handmade things, but what it doesn't get you is it doesn't get you the half paying attention that you spend and all the time you spend marinating with the thing if you're actually doing it by hand. And what happens when you actually make something by hand is that you emphasize things differently over time and you almost do it subconsciously,
Mm-hmm.
but it's connected to you as a person, and that resonates with audiences. Sort of that, I think we talked about, like that, like a Japanese vase, right? Or tea kettle or something that's like handmade,
Yep.
hand thrown clay, and it has imperfections. It's not like perfectly round, but that actually makes it more interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's the. It's almost like you want. I guess the real question is how do you reintroduce that into the process that we have, right? Which a lot of is like working in observable, working from pre-existing examples. Like there's almost like you want to
Mm,
make yourself the axidra, right? Like once you get it to a good point, you also sort of like, all right, now well,
mm,
we've played with this with like the projector, right? Of like, all right, now that I have the data visualization is sort of where I want it, I'll project it on a big piece of paper and then trace over it. And then you're sort of meeting the middle ground of like a computer doing the work of the math, the spatial math, so that you're not like,
mm.
I've done it before of like measuring everything out with a rule. It just gets unwieldy after a while. So
Yeah.
I'd love to find better ways to introduce that hand done element into the processes that we already have.
Yeah, I mean, there's two aspects to it, and one I think is more important than the other. One is like that variation and fluctuation, and that that, to some sense that's just randomness. I don't know how important that is. I think that like the ability, and this environment does give you this ability ooh, look at this. Here we go. But it gives you the ability, if you want to just custom, and it's sort of like it's not important if there's two e's in the label. Like if the e's look exactly the same because you're using a digital font, like that's fine. Like they don't have to be different. But like the idea that you can actually place the label where you want to and where it's best, like that's much more important.
Mm.
This, and I mean, I do think that this is a cool, like, shout out observable.
Yeah. Well, shout out D3.
I'm not biased at all.
You know what I mean? Like, I think it really
But
is.
also
It's
like,
related to the way that D3 makes it so easy to iterate and put. Like, that's the reason I don't use Vega Lite or another, charting tool or library. I like that D3 says, okay, you want to touch every single pixel within this. Like, it's addressable and you can modify it. And every attempt to get away from that
Yeah.
loses exactly what you're describing of like these
Mm.
intricate decisions that you want to make each time, depending on what you're talking about and who you're talking to, right?
I I know you want to probably move on from this, but I wanted to say a couple things. One, can we get rid of the line and just
oh
just
yeah,
go for the label
Do
first,
it.
yeah.
just to
Do
like
it.
put a button.
You're welcome to hang out as long as
And
you
then
want.
there's,
I
but
was
there's,
just saying, like, normally we take a little break on the hour or whatever. We might do that in as
oh,
soon as
I
we get
see, I see.
these lines going. You're welcome to hang out past the break.
Yeah. I think that like the other things would be, I wonder if dropping the dark blue one would be interesting because like to make it really clear that the dark blue label goes to the dark blue. Um, and then there's one
Sorry,
other
it's
like
dropping
separate
what?
dropping
Construction?
construction. Yeah, dropping construction.
Just not look at construction at all?
No, not drop. I mean dropping like vertical its vertical position, just lowering it.
I mean, these three
Um,
things here?
no, I mean the building of large structures,
Oh,
that label.
it's text. Yeah,
Just
yeah,
like yeah, just moving the text down. But the other thing that I think we should take note of with this the original example, and we should throw the original example a link in this notebook so that
Oh,
we
that's a
can
great idea. We should put a little
um
screenshot too.
so that people like inspired by.
Yeah, totally.
But there's I mean there's like 4 or 5 graphic flourishes in that original example, which I think are like outstanding. This is like, and we spent an hour, digging into one of them,
Right.
but I think it's worth like going back to it and like just like taking note of some of the other things that are like really exceptional about it.
I agree with that.
yeah. Let me.
And like yeah, and that might be like a nice way to like put a cap on this example before we break.
I love that idea. Thank you for producing our show so well.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah, let's do an hour, appreciating an ancient piece of Viz all the time. This is great. And this
Yeah,
is
no, this was
great.
awesome. I
This is,
really
I mean,
like
this is,
the time flew by for like, you know what I mean? Like normally we break
Yeah.
early, but I think we both were just so into this that we want to keep going.
One thing I wanted to say though about the technology and the manual thing though is that, and why I brought up observable is this part, like the idea that we
mm,
could start hand coding just the right stuff, right? Say, okay,
yeah.
I want to mess with the position, I want to mess with what it says, I want to change the colors, I want to move them up and down. Like, yeah, D3 did the paths, it did the text along there, it did all that stuff for us, but like in observable we're able to then like easily code slash manual fiddling, right? Like,
Mm,
so I think that was interesting and part of what makes it fun to like iterate in this way
Totally.
and like three-way pair programming is pretty nuts.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it
So
shouldn't be understated. The ability for me to like add stuff so easily is pretty cool.
yeah. 3 people being creative together is really difficult. Believe me, I've been
Well,
there.
especially not in person,
Um,
especially over
yeah,
screens, which has
yeah.
been a struggle. All right, cool. You're dropping in that screenshot? That's the perfect opportunity for us to sort of talk about how we got from there to here, and then I think we'll probably take a quick 10-minute break and come back at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 PST.
yeah, I can. What did I unknown okay. Um, let's do that. Do we want to do the recap real quick before we go on the break?
That's
We
what I'm saying.
typically.
That's what I was saying.
Oh, you're saying with the screenshot, then
Yeah,
we'll
exactly. Then we
turn to the
have
re.
mise en
Okay.
place, right? You gotta get. Well, we gotta get the. I don't know what the cooking metaphor is for recreating a thing. I guess we get the original dish, right, as an example,
Hmm.
and then we put ours next to it.
What's the next topic we're going to be coming back to before we do the recap?
Um, next after this break, I think we're spinning the wheel of data, but I'm down to jam probably more on this, depending on how the night goes. I mean, we can talk off.
We could always.
Go ahead, Ian.
Oh, I was just gonna say we could always pretend we spin the wheel and it landed on cool historic data
That's
viz.
true. Totally true.
Fine.
Cool historic data deserves a pie slice.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we're definitely need to put that in.
That's the play.
It's the
Well,
it
I'll do my best job selling what else we can learn from this chart.
cool. Yeah, let's get it
Shit.
loaded up, and
Move this way.
then Ian, do you want to do the recap?
Yeah, I can do the recap.
You're the best.
And do I have to give this a width and a height? What did I do wrong here? Unterminated temporal. All right.
There you go.
Give you height of 400.
Yummy.
So then we want these like next to each other.
There you go.
I want to put the swatches in the chart, but I'll resist that temptation.
Yeah. Getting nerd sniped.
I mean, you shouldn't need the swatches. I mean, like the swatches should go away. Like we've labeled it with the splines, right?
Yeah, great points. Excellent points.
All right, I'll hide it. Yeah, I'll just move it down because it.
I mean, maybe we have to edit the text and to say the actual industry names and then add a colon or something.
Right,
but
right.
like, the whole idea is don't make your audience look somewhere else and have their eyes do more traveling than necessary.
Truly fantastic points. And that's sort of the art of the original one, right? Is that like it makes you experience the thing it's labeling as you read it.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Like your eye travels with the data. It's amazing.
Cool. All right, so that's a great start. Ian, do you want to start off the recap, and maybe we can talk about how we got this and sort of where we ended up.
Yes, I'm just finishing.
Let me call it a couple things
Sure.
that I love about this chart. So one is it labels the left and the right side vertical axes, and the vertical axes labels like they only go up as high as the data goes on either side.
That's so
And
good.
so you can just look at the vertical axes on either side, and like it's like a slope graph or a slope chart, which is
Oh
like
man.
it's so good. And then also like look at the grids. Like the grid only goes where the data goes, and like that is just so smart as well.
Oh, we
Like
could
it's
totally
there
do
when you
that.
need it, and it just disappears and gets out of the way of that top label,
Mm.
that top spline is just beautifully emphasized. Also, an interesting thing, I'm just noticing this now, but like look at the amount of space between each of the words, which is kind of interesting.
It is beautiful.
Um,
The typography of just, I wish
We
I
need
could
to
speak
do
French to
that.
do it justice, but it has a very French, elegant vibe just to how the label is
yeah,
presented.
yeah, you have like a caption kind of font. It's really heavy. Um, And then the other thing is if we go, so there's missing data here, and if they show you that there's missing data, and they also show it's not that big of a deal, right? It's like so great, like how it's there, it's missing, like there's these like connecting, like kind of it's straight line. That's like a really great flourish. And then finally, like on the x-axis, I love the French are just so good. So like vertical label is not that great, but like every 5 years is bolded. Every 5 years, it's a little bit bigger.
Oh,
Like
that's
every
so cool.
like or rather, is it every 5 or every 10?
I
Yeah, it's
think
every 5 years.
5.
And
Yeah.
it helps the eye. Like if you need to know exactly like what this year is, like it's there for you. Also, another thing that you could learn from the colors on the one on the especially the one on the right is like take the top color. So they're using textures, right? And so you could do this chart with just black and one shade of blue, because you could have blue underneath the first and second, and then just blue lines on the top. If you pan up a little bit, you'll see that the top one's blue lines. But you could
Oh
create
my
three shades of
God.
blue with like light with the same color ink blue lines, and then filled blue with black lines on top. And
Wow.
so yeah, it's just there's just so much going
Yeah,
on
it's like
here. The
printing
grid, the
technology
axis
magic.
labels.
Like they're using their
Yeah,
technology
it's
to the
it.
best of their ability, like literally like every feature out of it. That's really cool.
I love how though, like now that you've explained all that stuff, I look at this and it looks naked,
Yes, yes.
Yes.
right? Like
It's a very poor
I we
impersonation. It's like the kids'
we
piano version of like a beautiful real piano.
but
But
it
I mean, but we could do all those things. Like all those things are possible and available to us. It just and like once we do it once, well then we have it, right? We have it
Totally,
to use, and other people have it to use. I mean, that's what's so magical.
totally. Yeah, the best part of
absolutely,
observable
and
is
actually,
people forking it and making it and adding it to things.
oh, crazy texture gives us crazy stuff, but 3D textures and shit. That's not what I was going to.
Hey, Ian, we gotta
We
do
did
it.
something
We gotta
with.
do a recap,
Uh-huh.
and then we gotta take a break.
I
Yeah.
know, but didn't we do something with texture.js to like? I just want to say like
Oh, the
it's
Choropleth
even
map.
more within range.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we did a map where we used texture.js to do like hatches and define your own texture scale, but you just basically like gave the design insight of like, oh, you can make similar choices in that way, and you'll get that much better looking map, right? So I would love to try that.
Mhm.
We've done, yeah, we're like part way there, I guess is the cool thing about that. Ah, yeah, it's so cool. All right, so we're gonna do a recap.
Yeah, and I think going forward, I think that we definitely have to add maybe even just this chart, right? Like keep pushing on it every episode a little bit. Like add another piece of this in because like I this is a very addictive way to go about things. Like normally we're taking data. This is the totally backwards way that we normally do this process. You know what I mean? Where we have a data set and then we sort of like build things on top of it. It's I really like this. Like it's cool to turn it on its head and sort of try and capture those little elements because like you said then you can take it and copy that little noise generator or the you know what I mean like you can reuse those pieces and you just improves your workflow going forward and that's really exciting to me.
Yeah, and I feel like it's also kind of like expanding my mind and my capabilities in that like going forward, some other visualization I try to tackle, like I'm gonna have all these ideas in mind that I could like customize or I could just give it that much more character or like personality because all of those things are also choices that you can make
Mhm.
your own, right? Like we're like trying to recreate faithfully so we understand, but then once you have that, you like put your own color schemes. Like, yeah, it's gonna be really interesting.
Dope. So do you want to talk us
And
through
the
oh go ahead RJ.
I know. I mean, the final punctuation is like old data viz is sometimes beautiful as like an aesthetic object, but like that's not why it's most interesting. It's most interesting because people are using different tools and they like they figured out how to do things because they're using those different tools and like those solutions that they discovered, like we're not going to discover them because we have a different tool set. Like we're just not going to bump into them like they did. And so we can port those solutions over to our world and make great use of them.
Totally. Yeah,
Nice.
so I really
Sounds good.
like the five different elements that you pulled out. Like I wish that we had time to do all of them, but I think that the spline one was a great start. Like it's I think it's the first thing you see that's different that sort of grabs your eye when you look at this. In addition to like the cool color scheme. So I don't know, Ian, do you want to scroll down and talk through sort of the interpretation of it?
Yeah, are we in the recap
Yeah,
already?
we're
I didn't
inside it
know.
right now.
Nice. Um, yeah, so we did our best to start, yeah, recreating the text along this line. And I guess what's kind of interesting about the process, I'm gonna actually hide the code for a second, is that we built up from starting from the D3 stacked area chart, right? Like there's this readily available code that automates drawing this geometry for you. But we got into sort of hand tuning it. So we pulled a few categories out of this unemployment data that we wanted to focus on. We filtered down the time to like show a particular, the recession. Um, and we even brought in colors that were from the historic data viz. Like we zoomed all the way in and grabbed particular pixels, and now it's not zooming for me. Okay. Um, and even like made it so we could easily customize our text and where it's positioned along these curves.
Totally.
So it's a cool interplay between automating with code, making really manual design decisions, and getting really into um, the insight RJ gave us as we like
Yeah, totally. Big thank
really
you to
zoom
RJ.
in.
Like this has been so fun to explore. Like such a cool process of going about it. Like thank you for bringing this chart and for hanging out with us and working with us to try and build this. It's been really awesome.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, do you want to just briefly mention the David Rumsey collection? I know at the beginning of the stream we talked about it, but
Yeah, so davidrumsey.com is where you can go to see, I think it's like over 103,000
Holy
different
shit.
information graphic objects. And he's famous for maps, and for the last like 3 to 4 years, he's been collecting historic data visualization and has a really impressive collection, and it's all in the beautiful resolution that you see here. And his collection has gone to Stanford, and they have the Stanford Map Center, the David Rumsey Map Center at Stanford Library. And I was really excited that I got to curate an exhibit for them on the history of data visualization, using the collection. And depending on how you count, there's like over 3,000 pieces of historic data visualization to go and learn from. So I think that I'm trying to see on the, like, there's exploring, like there's like themes, and like one of the topics you can explore is, let's see, browse facets. I think they call it facets now. um, Browse facets. One of the facets is data visualization. um, and yeah, it's alphabetical in the first column.
oh,
But there we go. And this is roughly, like, it's organized by when it was, maybe not when acquired, but when it was sort of uploaded.
Whoa.
Um, and there's lots of search features and everything else. But I mean, it's just a treasure trove of people trying to humanize data for hundreds of years.
Well, yeah, thank you for all of
that's
your work going
amazing.
through this and surfacing this stuff. Like it's you're one of the feeds where it's I'm just inspired all the time. You know what I mean? Like, and so that's so important when you can do anything. Yeah, I mean, it sounds crazy, but like, when you can do anything, it's hard to get inspired on like what's the one thing to do. So it's nice to have that
Yeah.
tie to like you said, this really beautiful history of database. So thank you for for all the work that you do.
All
Yeah,
right.
been a lot of fun today.
Cool. All right, so we're gonna take a
All
little
right,
10-minute break. Thank you everybody for hanging out. We'll be back in at like on the 40, so I guess 7:40 or 10:40 Eastern time. See you guys soon.
yeah, see ya.
everyone. We're back. We're live. It's Coding with Fire. It's the second half. We're joined by our good friend RJ Andrews, who has been helping us make some cool data viz. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for joining us for our second segment.
Yeah.
2-segment guest. We appreciate it.
So, what are we doing for the second one? We all talked in the break, agreeing that we'd love to just keep pushing this visualization and taking a close look at the techniques in this one. What is it, 1900 visualization?
This is probably published 1906 is my guess, but the data goes up to 1900, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 1906. Yeah.
And for everybody,
This album is the last of 18 in a series. The first one comes out, I think, in 1878, and so they're almost annual. And this is the last in the series.
wow, okay. And it's super cool when you zoom in really close, or we'll look at something. So RJ pointed out that, for instance, the vertical axis stops with the grid. There's a grid, but it's only within the areas. And, excuse me, there's like the spacing between the words on the path. Like there's all these really interesting, and then the coloring, the ability, this light blue is actually a texture of the same blue, I think, right? So encoding, and then there was another one, I think the chart on the right, let's pan over. Once this zooms in appropriately, you'll see that these are black lines over that same blue color. So Arjun, you mentioned we could basically have three. If we did three colors, or just one blue, and turn it into texture, solid, or put black texture over
Is
it.
it two blues?
Another thing to note.
Like, it looks like it's a lighter blue above it, right?
There is.
Yeah, they use two inks, I think. The heavy black line on top. And then the thinner grid. Like, that's kind of interesting. And it's like double, triple encoding, right?
Yeah. So there's we basically a ton of touches that we could add to this. I think all of them would be interesting to do. So it's kind of like where to start, So should we start with the easier things and get on a roll again? 'Cause I think we had like a...
Yeah, what strikes you as easy from that list?
I have a personal preference.
Sure.
Like, I think all the color stuff and the line weights and all that, I think it's really interesting, but it's like that's more on the graphic end of the scale and less on the data end of the scale. I think that the axis labels, like where it only goes up to the data and you're labeling both sides of the horizontal axis, I think that's like that's not graphic. I mean, it is graphic design, but that's very data viz centric.
Totally.
It might be like the most data viz centric, and it's so simple, but it's not something that is. I mean, it's not something I've ever seen like in a modern data viz. I don't think.
I think you're right, and it's something that we should just like immediately do and make sure it's done.
That's how we do it.
Yeah. I love it. I think let's start there. So I see EJ, you've been like writing down some of the stuff we talked about.
Yeah.
I will pop open the code again, and
because you already have a y-axis on the left so far, right?
Yes. So let's take a look at how that's done, and then slap one on the right, and then
slap one on the right. You're just gonna make a second one.
Well, yeah. So it's called y-axis. So
y-axis 2.
I'm gonna give these actual class names. So this will be x-axis is true. But in this one, we'll say left y axis, and then we'll append another one, right y axis. And I think, so y axis, we'll probably want a actual second one of these. So it's configuring the axis, because we want to access right and all this other stuff. Oh, it looks like, how on earth there's already did it. I'm just going to take what.
No, sick. This is the best part about having a chat.
Yeah. And it looks like it actually copy pasted properly. Let's change this to y-axis 2. Oh, I gotta say true. That's all right. We got another axis over here. So we got 2 of them.
I didn't even see Bischoff said hi. What's up, Bischoff?
Oh yeah, 2 axis 2 furious. I love it. All right, so I mean we can type. There's a margin, so let's go ahead and play with the margin definition here. So it's on the right, on the left, 2. Why not squeeze it in a little bit so it fits? And then, I mean, ideally, like, let's see. So, yeah, it just goes to like, just doesn't go all the way. Oh, this one's like at the top. But, so that's fine. So yeah, I mean, you can do all kinds of stuff to customize ticks. So the left axis is just the y-axis one. This is a lot of scrolling. I might have to bring this up. You can like select with X, shift up. I'm moving these cells up.
Some advanced observabling. Hey, does observable have a verb yet?
This is
Have you guys figured out your verb?
I don't think so. Observing, yeah.
Okay, that's valid.
I guess. Yeah, the cell movement, there's a few keyboard shortcuts, and it's you navigate. So if you're on a cell and you hit escape, then you're in like navigation mode. And if you do the HJK, so if J and K go up and down, hitting K, hitting J. And then if you hit X, it selects a cell. So you hit X again, X. So I've just, and then shift up and down moves them. I'm not going to move them though. But yes. So Y here. So I actually want to make the scale the minimum. So let's see. The smallest maximum. Let's see. How do I do that? So I want this value basically, right?
No, I think you want to end it at 1500. Like, I don't think there's a custom scale at the top.
So you just find the nearest axis and round to that, I guess. You do still need the value of all of them stacked on the far left, right? And then you can round it to whatever the nearest axis tick is.
So the Y that range. Domain will go from 0 to 1500. What the hell? Kind of did it, but I need it to go from 0 to that value, or we just don't want any ticks above 15.
Yeah, what's like the hacky way?
It is going to 1500, but it's not to that, huh?
Yeah, yeah, I see what you mean.
Oh, I know what I can do. I can do this. I can say from y of 0 to y of 1500. So that's like
okay.
X, or the.
It's definitely an interpretation of the idea.
Mm. I
So
mean, is there any way to just to hide the tick marks above the max value?
That's what I was just thinking. Can we do some like nth children hackery? You know what I mean? Nth child greater than 3, display none.
yeah, there might even be a way to like filter them by their data. So we should see the ticks of, or we could select all of them. So let's say this is, what's its name? We put it in here. So I'm looking at the left axis. So if I just say y-axis 2, oh, it puts it over there. Okay. So I'll change it back. I'll comment all this. Just say
Because really, I mean, like whatever we're doing on the left side, we would want to be able to copy and paste it for the right side and have it work just as well, right? You want it to be data driven so that, if the data changes, like it would still, it would adjust.
Totally. Yeah, we can't have little hacky solutions that work for just this data set and just this view.
Yeah, so I
I
think
mean,
what
that
would
might be
happen.
fine.
Well, I think what you would do is you would calculate these. So you would say, instead of it being hard coded to 1600, let's say you probably keep it 0 because it's like a stacked area chart. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But, well, assuming it's a positive number, I guess. So that's what I was saying about the minimum. You'd want like this value programmatically and this value programmatically and set the scale to be,
Yeah,
either set
exactly.
it to be that
You got to figure out what the total of your
or,
first slice is of all of your things in your stacked area.
yeah. So if we
Mm-hmm.
look at our stacked data, I believe it's series. So I'm gonna just,
And then once you do that, how do you control the global tick density so that they match on either side?
That's a great question. Because D3
Or
wants
if
to
it's
be smart.
more.
D3 does a lot for you with the axes, so because of
Yeah.
that,
yeah.
it's hard to do the thing that we want to do because it keeps trying to be smart.
Yeah, this is always like a tough thing to do generically. But this would be like, I want the, actually I just know like in the series, there's 3 series, right? So the
Mhm.
third one is the top stack.
Yeah.
If I take its first element and its second element, so much fucking magic in here. That should be the same thing as 1600. I can actually see. Yeah. So that's basically like the first day or whatever this was, right? Yeah, the first day, the top value, because that series, the last one in the array is the top series, right? So it's gonna have the high value. Um, so you want like the minimum to be that, and maximum to be series 2, and then you want it to be however long series 2 is, the last element. I guess this is also, I'll just do this, D3 at max series 2.
Bischoff says, is the value of the array what you want, or does it sum the 3 arrays to get the stacked y values? And I think it's the latter. Like you want
The way
all.
the way the stack,
Oh, because the stacked
it
data already
says
gives you the y position of it moved up.
in data space, yeah, the stack is like, so this one goes from 1500 to 1600. That's like, so if you use the Y scale, it will place it there. So to find out how big it is, you would subtract those numbers. But if we look at the biggest number, it's always the biggest number. So you want this to be minimum, and this one actually you want to be like the same thing. Instead of y, it's maximum. All right, so that kind of works. I mean, the thing is, we could also get rid of the unemployment thing here and put like just label our chart how we want it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I don't know
we'll
why.
definitely do that.
That would get us closer to what we want to do.
I'm kind of
Um,
of the mind to forgive your extra ticks at this point.
Yeah, for now, I think for now, like that's a detail. Like the main point's been made, right?
Because it still provides the utility that you talked about of like being able to quickly glance at the left axis and the right axis. Well, it was nice to see more fine grained detail because then you could, like you said, follow the slope chart.
And the
Yes.
idea is like the actual, I mean, the actual ticks disappear eventually because you're putting a grid on top, and numbers are aligned with the grid. And because there's a grid, the numbers on both sides have to also be
Right.
on the same density.
Right. So we'll have to solve this when we
Because
go to grid.
there's that connection. Yeah, eventually. But for now, I think like the main point's been made, which is like the even the axes can help tell the data, can help show the data.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if there's a way to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can ask it for fewer ticks.
No.
Like you would have like a
I think
ratio,
that what RJ said
or-
was actually really helpful, and that what we don't really want is D3 y-axis. We probably just want to make our own y-axis. We don't really need any of the shit that it does for us. But the first step to doing that would be to make a grid, which we need anyway. So once we make a grid, then I think it'll be much easier to actually apply what we want to do to the left and right side, because we can probably make our own y-axes that behave based on the grid and not based on D3 axes logic, if that makes sense.
Yes, and the alternative is that if we did have the grid driven by axes, which you can do.
Oh, I see what you're saying. When you make the
If we
axes
fix the
stretch the whole
axes,
screen. I see what you're
then
saying.
that would work. Well, because I think the thing is you can actually set explicit ticks, right? So like in this case, we could just say let's have the y-axis be 500. You know, every 500 it goes up. Oops.
That sounds good.
So this one,
That's 20.
you know, this one's like every 20 it goes up, right? So it's like relative to the thing. And then it's every day is one of these bar things. So or every year. In our case, it's every day for the data we're looking at, right?
I think it's a month.
Month. Oh yeah, it's month by month over a few years.
Yeah.
Years.
Could do like month first letter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
I
then-
mean, there's the vertical.
Yeah, like month first letter, and then you bold the January and drop a secondary row with the year for when that January is, and also bold it to scream out like this is the new year.
Well, you want to make them sideways too. That's like half the reason the other one's so cool, right? Is that it has a lot of dates put onto their side.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I love sideways.
All right, well, we don't have to jump there. I think we can try what you're saying. So I think I'll make a new I'll make a new x-axis to replace this one to like try to get, you know, the months individually. And then the other thing we can do is the tick values. Oh, but I was wondering if real quick, mind if I just want to draw the stroke on there. I just feel like
Yeah.
ever since it was mentioned, I really want to do that. So if I could just do that for 5 seconds and we get back to
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's going to help it.
We're into it. It's one of the elements too, right? It's what we call the thick bar on top.
Yes. Yeah. And I think I'm just gonna like stroke it. Make that to I think it's just a black line, not color.
Yep.
And this won't be path.area, this will be path.top. Top. And it won't be area. Header stroke line.
Here we go again.
Right, that's because the fill.
But it's smoothed.
All right. But it's not the, yeah, it's the smooth one. Which I'm gonna take a screenshot anyway, so like.
It's kind of mildly interesting.
You know, I think when with something like this, like having all the different versions flip past would be kind of fun. But yeah, so we fixed that because our y, or where does that come from? The line equals. We just had our area is curve step, so line 2.
Doesn't that affect the letters or no?
I'm adding a new path this time.
Oh, okay.
Which will not have I should use line 2.
There you go.
Yay. Although because they touch so weirdly, I feel like it takes away a little bit.
What do you mean?
I don't know, like these steps.
The top data set doesn't have enough meat to really like pull off this.
Well put.
Like to pull off all of what the original like has going for it.
Totally.
What if we, is there another, let me look at the categories, what this is forked from. Is there another sector that we can choose that would instead of information, I don't know, there's business services, leisure and hospitality.
What's one of the bigger ones? Yeah.
Manufacturing.
Yeah. Let's just use
manufacturing.
the bottom 3. See you later information.
I did like seeing selling information in the form of goods or services all laid out like that.
Money can be
Yeah.
exchanged for goods.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Where did it go? I have to move these axes out of the way later too. So we'll comment that. Well, I'm just gonna manufacturing since I didn't copy the thing. So we can change them all out if we want to in a second. And
Nice.
manufacturing.
This is cute.
Yeah.
It's so triumphant. It's not like stepping up.
This is great.
Thing.
And then and then when you reorder them, I think it'll all be perfect, right? Because that we can put that the middle blue will float above.
Let's try it. Let's see. So self-employed should be where
I think 1
manufacturing.
first, maybe not. Yeah.
Yeah, so now we just need to move down the. Oh,
Yeah.
they're out of order. Shit. We should probably
Oh,
combine these things into one thing.
yeah. I was gonna say that.
Oh, that's great. All right, we're getting it. We're getting it. So let's
You're
just do
totally
it.
right, EJ. We're picking our data to fit our design.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? It's fun to work backwards sometimes. I don't. Not all professions get the benefit of being able to do that.
Mhm.
But I mean, this is like, it's also a very realistic case that you would care about three categories that behave in a way like this, right? It's like,
Mm.
it's not that backwards to think, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to, I do, can I take a couple of seconds to combine these things so that we can,
Yeah. Who hurt you? You can do whatever you want.
yeah, 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 you did, EJ,
I'm
you did.
sorry. That's only when we have to do a recap at 10:26.
Let's see, so self-employed, column, and then manufacturing. Because yeah, instead of having these separate things, which if I reorder them, um, I break everything.
Oh, cool. Yeah, this is like a very professional way of handling this.
And sometimes things evolve, you know. Um, um, well, these aren't matching anymore. We'll just fix it in post.
That's such a great definition for construction. Building of large structures.
That's what. That's what I think. That's what Google said. I think if you asked your Google what construction is, that's what she'd say back to you.
Oh darn. Translate.
I think the
Color.
longer they are, the better.
I do think it's real important when, because like revisiting, like remaking old Viz is a whole genre, and I think part of it is sort of like parts that are really useful, and I think what's interesting about this is I think we're like really honing in on what's interesting and what's useful, and like what could actually be like getting the paper texture to match. Like you're just trying to like make a carbon copy. Like that's a fun pursuit, but like that's not necessarily useful to you making the next chart you want to make.
Right.
Um, like what we're working on now is like things that you could actually grab and put to work.
Totally. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we keep finding every time we make a notebook, we'll come back to it like 3 or 4 times in other streams and like pull pieces out of it or fork it and make it into something else. Like, once it's added to the like spice shelf, for lack of a better metaphor. Yeah, I mean,
Mm.
like
Mm.
it's nice to add new things. Like, they never go away, really.
Mm.
Looks like self-employed is getting crushed by the other.
Just look that way.
I had it reversed, so I just gotta like flip those
Can we
around.
put the manufacturing has its title in the label, and I think the other two need that as well.
Yes, you got it.
Yeah.
Can I do it? Are you in that? Are you doing it?
Yeah. Wait, did I add another thing? What
I
happened?
think we edited it at the same time and introduced a terrible world.
All right. All right, let me just delete
Yeah.
the first one, I think.
You own it now.
Okay. Oh, okay. Did you get to do what you were gonna do?
No.
Why don't you do that for a second? What was it you were gonna do?
I was going to put the column name into the text.
Nice. Let's do that.
I help. I do things.
And I'm gonna change the trend.
All right, it's all yours.
Nice. So
But why is it
Construction,
pushed?
if
Oh, it
I'm
is. It's the
further.
offset. That's why it's pushed up like that.
Yeah, we gotta change, or the translate
On
is
manufacturing.
one that you want to change, and the offset. So if you want to mess with
Not go
those,
for it. I just
go
want
for
the
it.
manufacturing one
Right.
to be on where it's supposed to be.
All right, so yeah, manufacturing, it could be like 10 probably, and then the
Yeah.
Y,
Maybe down a little bit more.
yeah. So
And offset is the horizontal distance from the horizontal x,
Exactly.
the 0 point. Okay, or origin.
I guess you kind of want the middle of this. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, this is like a. Well, I mean, here too, you could like you could take like that California approach. Like, what did the California approach do? Like, it actually drew a center line right in the middle of it. Like created a spline, the center of all these bars.
Yep.
So it would
Oh,
like keep it centered right, which is not what the original does. Like the original is it's like fit to the top curve, but like in this case, you might want to do something like that instead. You know what I mean?
yes, I do. So this uses the line. So if I wanted to, the line grabs where's line at? It gets the dates and D1. But what we actually want is, let's do line. And then say D.1 minus D.0 over 2, or D.0 plus over 2. Unexpected end of input. Not enough parentheses. No. So now I should be able to say the drape is going to be midline. So now the offsets are off.
Yeah. What have you done? Oh, you
So if you
changed it.
change
okay.
the translations closer to 0 on all of them, it actually should like
Right.
probably
Right.
be
Right.
good.
Can I do it? Can I jump in there? Or what?
Yeah, go for it.
Like if I just make them smaller.
Mm.
I mean, all right, I think you want to make the offset less for the self-employed, so it starts earlier, right?
Okie dokie.
Yeah.
And then it might want to be above its chart. So we might want to be able to choose if we want the thing to be the midline or the not midline, right? Like this one, if it's not the midline, it would actually flow nicer.
Yeah.
Right. If it was versus the
And manufacturing, can we push manufacturing's offset to the right, do you think?
Yeah. Sure. I'm gonna pull the other one to the
I'll
left.
fix the midline in a second. But while you're in there, yeah, the construction, I guess, could go more middle, but like, it's getting interesting. I'm starting to get a slight Dr. Seuss vibe. Is a good feeling for me. I think,
we do find ourselves having Dr. Seuss vibes pretty regularly.
I mean, especially like inspired by RJ too. So, yeah. All right. So I do want to flip that one. So I'm gonna say, I'm actually gonna make it part of the data. If it's like, we'll just say line. So construction, but do we want it in the middle like this?
What do you mean?
Can we look at the original to see whether they left align all these labels or center align or how it works, just for reference?
They just sort of put them in the middle.
They kind of did. Is it all centered? They're almost like right aligned actually, which is kind of interesting.
Shifted. Well, this one shifted to the left a little bit. These two seem a little right.
Yeah, it's just
left a bit.
done by hand.
Yeah.
It is.
That's
They like gave themselves enough space for the words when they started.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, there's something to. Let's excuse me, keeping the self-employed one, like there isn't enough room, basically. Also, they had a tall ass book, so I want my height to be bigger. I just realized, right? It's like
Give yourself some freedom.
Oh yeah, great
crank it
points.
up. Shit, what have I done?
You've broken everything, it seems.
Text is not defined. I was breaking text. Oh, okay, line is line. That's fine. Line is midline. And then line,
Ooh, fancy.
line. What is circular definition? Damn it.
Because line uses text.
Oh. Yeah, I define them based on these somehow. I forgot that. But we will just have line and midline. And
They're talking.
when we don't just do midline and we say d dot line midline. Let me get some. I think
Interesting. I think that
dot.
changed all of them to one.
Am I doing? Is it d dot line or d? Shit.
It seems like you have it reversed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, or no,
Do I
they
have
all
it?
got the new one. I feel like.
Yeah, I think they all got the new one because my series doesn't have d dot line. This is part of text. So, and this is iterating over. I think I need to do sorry, I lost. Okay, here I am. Drape. It's D, I, and if it's text, I dot line is midline. Use midline otherwise. Yeah, that one's midline. And these two are top lines. So we should maybe make, wait, construction. Yeah, construction is that. Maybe it should be midline. I don't know. Are you editing in there?
Nope, go for it.
I like it as a top line. It just
Like
needs to
this
be
top line?
translated down. Yeah.
Down? Okay, so we'll mess with the translate then. So that's the construction. Y is, I don't know, 15? I kind of feel like
Oh, I
something
like
about
that.
the color,
Yeah.
the black text, I don't know. Maybe the font needs to be upgraded too. We could also, if we made this top line, moved it down and left, or right, and I think this one can, is it, so self-employed is a line, I believe. 79. Am I wrong for that?
Is there any ability to go left, right, like in Block Builder? Because that would remove like some of the scrolling, right? Like to just have a persistent view of the chart.
Yeah, that is not currently available, but will hopefully
Sticky cells.
be
Sticky
something we can
cells.
do. Yeah.
Sticky cells. The people want it.
So what am I keep changing. Let me move this thing up so it's not as much, quite as much. So for self-employed, I keep moving it left. Am I actually translating these things by their X and Y? No, I'm not. Okay, so I moved it way over. Yeah, right. So like this, and it's like up a little bit too high. following along. I think we can get this one to work too. So the manufacturing is we want it to be a little less 10. We'll make it a 1. Oh, we want it further down than that. So 50 is the magic number. Move it over 20.
Just a little bit. Yeah, I like it. But
like
when
this one's
when you
still-
wait when you move it over. Wait, did you move it over horizontally with the translate?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, shouldn't like
It's wrong.
shouldn't the curve always be lined up with the data? Like, wouldn't you change the offset instead of the translate?
Let's try. So let's see. So manufacturer, if I don't change the X, the offset's still gonna run through these.
Yeah. So then you'd have to drop it more, right?
You
To
could
make
drop it
work.
more, but that's what, yeah, it's like if you drop it more, then you get further away from places where it would
Yeah.
be closer, you know? So like
Yeah,
playing with
yeah. I see.
it's like, because it's also a smooth curve over the step curve. I just want to see for fun. Oh, we need to make the image. Sorry, I want to make my image go back. Yeah, okay, so it covers the whole thing.
We need to restack the colors too, so the light one's on top.
Shit, sorry, this was actually one. Get rid of the code. Okay, the color. So the construction is the right color. Manufacturing and self-employment need to switch. That makes a difference.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so curve, basis, midline line. I think if we made this step, our text would look crazy.
Yeah.
Just for shits and giggles. Machine.
Is there any easy way to add those long spaces? Like wherever there's a space, like
Yeah, I think it's a C. Well, you can't use CSS in these T spans, can you?
I don't know.
Because it's like a CSS property. CSS. Letter
There's
spacing.
a word.
Yeah, word spacing and letter spacing.
Yeah, so we could try that.
and we might want to do it because one of them's really long, so you might want to be able to control that.
All right. I don't know what it's denominated in, but
We'll find out.
I think. Well, yeah, I'm gonna do. Shit, why are there 2 words here? This one, construction, manufacturing, and self-employed is small, probably. And then on each of our texts, text trait. Yeah, did something, right? So I think it needs to be much
like it.
more. Word spacing. So make that like 25 and 25. Ayo.
Nice.
We need
I
to get
like
a little
this.
bit.
That's dope.
Let me get a little part of this guy. So now we just let the, offset
Yeah.
those two back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Self-employed down to like 2%. Manufacturing back to, I don't know, 10%. Maybe forward a little bit.
You could probably add some of the sharp curves. Like you could either smooth the curve or you could add letter spacing. I don't know, there's not that much interference. Or that much like overlap. We've got a chart.
So I have a surprise for
Nice.
you.
What? Oh, okay. Over here.
I've been doing. I pulled in. I went down our list of the wonderful things in that other thing, and one that stuck out to me was texture. So I've been pulling in most of the things that we used for our old texture in the COVID map texture. I'm most of the way there. So I just got to the point where I'm trying to get the filter definitions on the page, and once they are, then we can use the filter URL as the fill and figure out how to make our cool fills, which I guess is with the
Nice.
same color and then black over it, but really thin.
Yeah.
So let me try and do that.
I guess we're gonna want one more. Let's bring information back and put it at the bottom, because that's like this one, right? And so we know
Yeah.
information is gonna be where construction is, so the line, and we got to give it all these things. Text and offsets. And the column would be information. Okay, and it is a mine, but it's y should be 0.
So I'm trying to just get this fill go. I feel like I'm so close. So I just need to make the fill the URL. Where is it? There we go. So it definitely changed it, but
It did.
it doesn't seem right. Maybe 1 is too much. I have like a line size at the bottom, so maybe 0.2. Did that change it at all? 0.4.
No.
Maybe 2. Oh, it has a heavier one. I keep changing it, it doesn't have an effect. So the difference is that, so I pulled it, I'll drop it in the chat what I pulled it in from. And the old one, we made like a color scale. So I was trying to do what we did without the color scale, but in doing that, I feel like I made it more complicated.
Shit.
Because we basically made
fills this URL.
Yeah, we basically made 9 fills at a time, and then we put the fills into a quantized scale and like called them that way. But for just to get started, right, I just want to make one texture and call it in one of the fills.
Yes. Yeah, you should be able to like switch out the color, or I guess we might want to incorporate color somehow, but whoa, that looks good.
Ooh.
Sorry, I
happened?
just figured out how to use this library just now.
I am taking a screenshot.
What's the name of the library again?
It's texture.js.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it turned out weird. So that's just me changing line size to something
Mm.
bigger. I don't know if I.
Can you how do you control the angle?
It's in fractions, which I can't say I understand.
Like radians fractions or
It's the method is called
fraction?
orientation,
Okay.
and right now it's 3/8. So
Oh.
I don't know what that means.
I mean, if you do half, does that mean a 45-degree? Do you think?
Maybe let me change it to half and see what happens. How's that? That's 90.
Huh.
Looks like
So
massive.
maybe a quarter? A quarter is
1/4. 1/8. 1/9. This doesn't seem to be changing it, does it?
no,
All
I
of a
was
sudden
getting a little bit.
it went away.
So to do textures here, like when you have the black lines, are you gonna do two fills and just do one in solid blue and then the black on top? Or
Yeah, I was thinking that this bottom one would be filled with a texture, but the next one, oh, I guess, oh,
the
that's a good
bottom one could be
point.
black. The bottom one could be solid black, and then it could be blue with black on top, and then it could be just blue, and then it could be blue lines, blue texture. So you're doing four colors with two inks.
I
Yeah,
love that
the
idea.
thing is the stacks are all, they're actually drawing, they're not drawing underneath each other. So like they're doing the black lines. I think we might have to have somehow also be able to give a background. And you're giving,
Mm.
wait, use texture to the path. Is that right, EJ?
Yes, as the fill.
The same texture to each path?
That's correct. But just to try it out, I figured we'd make 4 or 2 or however many we need.
Right. So, and where did you do that in the code?
At the very, very bottom, I'm making a texture. It's pinned open.
Oh, no, I mean, how do you give it to the
As the
path?
fill.
Let's fill texture URL. Okay, they each get a texture URL. So I'm going to say
Yes.
d.texture. And then I'll start by saying texture is texture URL. And make like multiple texture URLs. Is that the
That's correct. Yeah, that's what we did last time.
deal? All right, so we can like, they're all the same now, but did I break it by doing this?
I don't know. I've been editing it while you're doing it, which I'm starting to regret.
Okay. I think it's fine. But the other thing we could do is say like, I can use, that should work. D.texture. Oh no, it's I text I.texture.
There you go.
Okay, so now they have independent things. So that bottom one, I don't know how to fill and texture something at the same time.
We have to tell textures.js
Just check.
about it.
Oh, can you give it like a,
Yeah, I just dropped the documentation into the chat. But yeah, you basically give it dot fill and dot background to declare the colors.
okay, and so you're building the texture.url. Okay, I see what you're doing here. So I should be able to,
It's like not like that. Sorry. I might not be able to do it on this type.
is it color or something instead of,
No, it's
oh
just
no, you already have stroke black, so you don't need to fill. if the background is
Stroke. Oh, right, and not
like
background.
background?
Yeah, it's not background. Background. Right? Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Mm.
So then I'm going to copy this code. So basically in our data thing here, this one's going to be something like this. I've messed it up. Oh, dot URL. Oh, not. Is that texture URL? That should work. Do you have to declare the textures outside
Yes.
of the...
Yes. So see in this black bar, this innocent black bar below everything at the very bottom.
Uh-huh.
So it should be for all of your textures call texture.
Oh, okay.
That's how we
So we'll just...
add them to the page so they can get used. Also, we have 20 minutes left in the show, believe it or not. It's almost midnight.
Oh, but we can do this like this. So SVG call, and we'll say text, 0 dot texture. Or we'll just do text dot for each. I'm having too much fun to think about what time it is. Didn't like that. Apply is not a function, so I don't have a texture for each one. I'm gonna borrow. We're gonna make one for each one, and then if it's a solid color.
Love it.
Can you change the opacity of these colors? I guess we could do RGBA.
Yeah, exactly.
So for each of these, we do get to do this. Dot URL. All right, didn't work, but oh, okay, I get it. I think I get it.
No, you can't have the URL in this if you're going to call it again.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna call it to set it up, but then when I fill it,
Yeah, when you fill, then call the URL.
URL.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so now they're all the same because we didn't change any, but we could say fill this with blue, and there's that one. Actually, this one, I don't want any background, and I want size. What is line size?
It gets funky. You want size to be... Actually, I should make all of this pretty small. Line size should be like 4. How do you feel about that?
Yeah.
That's too small. 8?
I do want the background on this one because it's black over the blue. Second one, the background is its color. And there's no line or lines. Can I just do a background or? Oh, I can just erase them with stroke with 0.
Smart. Yeah, I like that.
That's like performance.
So
but
the bottom one should be filled black, I think, because we have 4. Because it should be black, black on blue, blue, blue.
yeah, I believe, is it the stroke opacity or something that making it look not black? Heavier off. Stroke width is 1.
No, I think it has an
I mean,
opacity.
black fill. Like the bottom one should be just a black fill. Like no texture at all.
The bottom one? I thought it was black lines over the
If
blue.
if you want to use two shades of blue, then yeah, that's correct. But we could also do a thing where we have a black fill and then two inks. Use a blue ink and a black ink, and you get four colors out of it.
But isn't it the blue ink with the
Mhm.
black lines laid over it to get that darker blue?
Yeah, I would do that for the second class, for the second category.
Okay, so for the first category, so we can take though this basically, I don't want the for this category. I'm gonna change this, I guess. The first category's background is going to be black.
Nice.
Okay, and so
Mhm.
the second category is going to be the black on, but this line size is not going to be ×2. And for some
In
reason,
doing
it's
it this
very.
way,
Mhm.
it might be useful to name the blue, so we can just say call our blue color and then control it,
Yeah. Okay.
because it's going to be throughout. It's going to be throughout, right?
Yeah, I guess if we choose one blue and use that only, is that what you?
Yeah.
We're not even using color right now, but we should.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I don't know why these are not black lines, but is it my fill opacity on the thing?
Yes.
Yeah. All
Whoa,
right,
that's
so I don't
fucking
know.
intense.
It's crazy, right? We didn't have fill opacity the whole time, and now we
It just got.
let me
I
just
don't know.
do a before and
Sorry.
after.
I don't know if this is the right. I know. I guess you're right. We gotta make the base color less saturated, huh? The background color.
Shit, what did I do?
What did you do?
Oh, I see what I did. All right, so also the red is just like a stand-in right now. We should just, I'm gonna fix the um, patterns for those two. So the next one would be just our light blue and no stroke.
Right, just the light blue, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Nice, dude.
Can I say 0? Does that like?
No, they got unhappy. It likes it. Yeah, there you go.
All
Mm,
right, and then the last one is just gonna be a stroke of our light blue. That's the...
right.
Nice.
Wow, it does look like
Yeah.
the light blue,
That
huh?
that's really lovely. I I I mean this is I mean the black on the original, like all the blacks are black and it's not actually black, right? It's a light gray.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of like the black for the text here with the just a little bit of opacity on that fill. I think it helps having the dark gray and the black line and the black text.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we could also turn like we could bring back a little more opacity, right? Like it's 0.7, which is maybe aggressive.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, maybe just lighten it a little, fade it out a tiny bit, right?
Wait, I was just gonna bring it back like 0.8, make it stronger. Are you saying make it even
No, the fill.
more
Talk about the
faded?
fill opacity.
Yeah,
You want more saturation or less?
I don't know. I just tried
I
more
think a
and I
little
just tried
less.
less. Yeah.
Hmm.
And move these axes things. Oh, actually, no. That might be the next thing we want to get to if we want to get to it. The grid.
I think their text is like boldish too, which helps it with the
Yeah,
readability.
it's like a cap. It's a caption weight.
Yeah, I wonder if we could choose a better font too.
That's a great idea. Well, we have 12 minutes left, so
Be- before that, expires, we need to put a title on the thing.
So smart.
Can we put a center top title?
Yes.
I think that's
I
important.
think that's super, may perhaps most important of all. If I can remember how to bold things. Where do you make this text? Oh, I see.
It's also interesting now going back and seeing how vibrant that original blue is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And like so, because I think we're riffing off of that medium blue. Like I wonder if we replace it with that more vibrant blue
Yeah,
for our light
that.
blue color. Yeah.
Is this a different number? That's the wrong one. Let's try all of them.
That's a wheat blue. I want that royal blue.
Yeah. No. What am I doing? So 203, 135, and 82. I did an 82 one. Seems like the darkest. That was the very first one. 82.
I think maybe we just grabbed the wrong set of blues in the outset.
Yeah. I don't know. So
That's better. I like that one.
all right. Well, we got all the blues to choose from, but go with this one. Still something like inky about that, like
It's lush.
watercolor.
Can you grab it off of the screenshot? You might get because that'll give you a more average value than what you can grab from the original.
Yeah, did I lose sound?
No, you're good. Oh, maybe hearing us. Potentially.
Oops. My headphones died, I think.
Oh, no.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear it.
All right, well, picking a color. Very similar here. I don't know if it's going to be...
It's crazy. It doesn't look the same, right? It doesn't. It's color is so hard.
I want... Can I, like, get a repeating image of that texture? Like... I mean, I'm really encouraged by the, like, just using the natural image. Yeah, it's well, okay, it's the fill opacity. I have to take the fill opacity off
Oh, there you go.
to get the
Ta-da.
same, like, richness.
Nice.
And then we could mute our black just, like, as a...
Yep.
Another, like, we could say black is 1111. So anywhere, and we could change that. I love the texture blue in the top level.
So if we could maybe go back to the original and zoom in on that texture to look at the balance. So the black is very thin, right? It's like very thin.
Yeah,
The
super,
black
super
texture. But if
thin.
you go up to the top, my guess is the blue is actually different. And almost like I wonder if that at the beginning of the series when the data is closer to one another, if you can see both. Is the blue fatter or not? Maybe not,
It
actually.
looks similar, man. I think it's at
No,
a
I think they're
sharper
tighter. They're
angle.
tighter. Like count how many. It's also at a different angle. Look at that. Do you see
Yeah,
that?
it
I
is
think
at
it's
a
at a
different
different.
angle.
It's at a different angle, and I think like if you count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like there's probably I think there's more lines in the blue one than in a black across the same horizontal space. So like it's at a shallower angle, and so what they're probably doing is using a different like uh, template, right? When when they're um,
Yeah.
when they're making this. I mean, like tension, right? And they're not figuring that out. Like that's already figured out for them. Like they know what they want a lighter blue, and so they grab that texture off the shelf and put it to work.
That's wild.
Because how do I get it to go? What kind of orientations are there available to me?
I dropped the Texture.js is its own art. Let's add the title. We have 6 minutes left.
Fine, fine. I love that detail though. Okay, title. Is that a title?
I tried, but I did not succeed.
Oh, I see what you did. Yeah, I mean, wait, are you in here
Yep,
again?
go for it.
Hang on.
Do your thing. Oh, Hell on Earth has been dropping dope ass colors in the chat this whole time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I should have checked.
I wasn't looking either. This is great.
Nice. We should bring those
Super
in.
into this.
Why did we do that? Title appended after the image. So, guys, I got my closing thing.
I can't wait till we can
The
edit the
title.
same cell.
Edit what?
Yay! Edit the same cell.
It's very soon.
so
Soon
excited.
come, man. It's very soon. Title. I'm scrolling past the title. Come on. All right. So, do you want to mess with that, like font and position and what it says? What does it say?
Well, yeah, what should it say, I guess?
Something about unemployment.
Is it unemployment by sector? Unemployment by industry?
So selected industries.
By nice. Alright. Bold.
It's not substantial. I'm blanking out on how I'm supposed to do swatches. Got rid of them.
What are you doing with the swatches?
I wanted to see how on earth his colors. I got distracted. Sorry.
Yeah, you got nerd sniped by the chat.
Well, did you fix it? You finished the
I
title?
sure did.
Nice.
Ooh, it's big.
Alright. Oh, you're right. They did it all like cute and dainty and classy, huh? I did it like an American.
All right. What do you mean? Yours is just in a straight line.
Well, mine's like they have like better letter spacing and more spacing around it.
Yeah, I mean they make room for the title by like not running the data all the way up.
We could do that. We just leave our margin top if we up that. We could add a thick border around the whole thing. 2 borders.
Mm.
It's text align middle, right? In SVG. Text anchor. It's text anchor. What the? Who made that, by the way?
It is text anchor. Yeah, I don't know why it's
It
different.
doesn't make any sense.
The darkest blue from Hell on Earth is. I'm gonna collect your colors and figure out how to look at them later. Or we'll accept any pull requests.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we didn't do it. We're
Sure.
gonna go through everybody's forks and stuff and look at them, but next time.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's looking pretty good.
There we go.
Does it have like a background image? Like, why does it not go all the way to the top?
It does, yes. So there's an image, and I keep having to translate it for some reason.
Yeah, why do you have to translate it? It's not big enough, you silly McGillicuddy.
No, you moved it too far. I had it.
I'm sorry. This is,
It was like 200, I think.
but then it's off on the bottom.
Oh, I
That's
just
off on the
keep
top.
making the height bigger.
It's off on the bottom. No, it doesn't fit. This is like fitting a bed sheet. It's so frustrating.
Oh, what happened?
It's too small.
I made it bigger.
Hell on Earth is
I mean, I think the original title has some sort of isn't it like pretty tall and narrow?
Yeah.
So I mean, it should be lighter because it's bigger.
Why does it keep doing this?
All right, you're banned from doing anything else with that background again.
What? I'm fixing it. Oops.
Because it's 12:02, and it's time to get this show on the road.
Come on. All right, close enough. I can make it a little bit bigger.
Oh my god! This is definitely so. Sometimes we'll do shows, and then the show will end, and then Ian will stay up all night just continuing to do it.
God
And I really have the strong suspicion that this is going to be one of those nights.
Why does this happen like this?
Well, we have another 3 hours on you, EJ. So
I might go smoke a cigarette, and then you guys can just hang out. I don't want to put a damper on the show.
Yeah. I'm good. I can't figure out why my background image is being weird, but I really like having a background image. I want it to be a repeating texture, and I was thinking that it would be interesting to be able to like sample out from here, like
you can get like old paper repeating textures. I think Google image search pretty fast.
Yeah, but I don't know, something about like even using the actual Viz thing patched. But that's for another time. I think this is really cool what we got.
Ta-da.
Nice. Need that live streamed as well. Well, EJ did. You did keep OBS recording one time, right? After the emoji
Oh
one,
yeah,
maybe.
we have some. We do have some offline footage for whenever that becomes useful. Behind the scenes.
It's the letter spacing on the title that's, I think, still like
Is it
impacting
too
things.
too far? Too much letter
Wait,
spacing?
if it, I mean, there shouldn't be any
Oh, it shouldn't be any. That's easy
on
enough to
on the
fix.
title.
Where is that? Where is title? Oh, letter spacing. Here we go. Try that. That's with none.
Yeah.
And really it should say
First of many. That's a pretty chart.
It is funny how the accumulation of small and seemingly insignificant details, when put together, have like a very big effect on how it feels.
That's what it's all about. I mean, one thing that we're gonna hit a wall at some point where like the resolution of the screen is much less than the resolution of the printed page, and so they're able to do things like layer black on top of black on top of, they can have like a thick black line on the top and then a black grid and then black text over that, and it's all fine, like it all hangs, and it's because the resolution is, they have so much control over that that you don't have with digital.
That's so cool. It's really fun.
And also the inks are interacting. I mean, we can try to do that with opacity, but it's not the same. It's like it's not the same as a chemical interaction between two colors, right?
Right.
Yep. You made me curious, so I looked up the iMac Pro I'm looking at is at 149 DPI, and I guess paper is at 300 plus, something like that.
Paper now, but like if you're doing an engraving, and these aren't engraved, this is like chromolithography, I think. I mean, it's much finer.
Interesting.
So I have a William Playfair chart behind me that's engraved, and it's insane how thin the lines are, and what that allowed him to do with annotation. I mean, it's not available to us.
That's amazing. Yeah, we're still in like the dark ages of this technology's ability to display information compared to paper. I guess that's part of the reason I like the paper New York Times. I guess they're not at that same level of detail, but there's something about very easily getting a big thing to look at. You know what I mean? Where you can actually get
Yes.
the fine and large details out of it.
I mean, for me too, the ability, like when you're at a physical big paper, when you zoom in and like get closer and look at it, it like everything moves with you and it stays where it's at, right? It doesn't disappear.
Right.
And like something with your eyes and just the consistency of it, you can keep track of more what's going on, I think.
Yeah, and you can visually compare from this side of the page to that side of the page, right? And like it's definitely more enjoyable than scrolling away, something becoming invisible, and you trying to compare in your head what you remember that things looked like, right?
Right.
Are we still live on
Yeah.
Twitch?
Okay,
great.
Yeah, we are.
I didn't know if we faded. I didn't know if we faded out or not.
No, yeah.
You need a sound effect.
Ian's filibustering the ending of the show, so I'm going to do it. Thank you so much for enjoying, Jesus Christ. Thanks so much for hanging out. I'm going to do a little recap of what we did tonight. So we started off with this excellent vintage data viz. Thank you for bringing it along, RJ. And it has all these like nice little details and touches to it, like the vertical axes and the grid and the spacing and stuff. And so we just spent basically the whole show just going through and trying to tackle all those little details, whether they be the pattern or sort of the how the text was laid out, how the y-axes sort of ended and started. And it's really interesting, like the outcome that we've gotten to. Like I said before, it seems like a lot of the smaller details all put together make like a very different end result. And so it's been a lot of fun to try out this new technique of working backwards from a historical database and make it work. And I think we all got addicted to it.
Yeah, that was really fun. Thanks for joining, RJ, and
Yeah, my pleasure.
taking us through this. This was great.
Yep. And thanks for everybody in the chat for hanging out. Of course, Hell on Earth is Bischoff, Blue Radon, everybody. We appreciate you guys. Have a great night. And I guess we're on Sunday again. Follow the Twitter. We'll let you know when the next show is and who the guest is. Thanks for hanging out, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Bischoff, too. Yeah, tune in for a long time. Mr. Brown Shoes. Yeah, check it out. The code's all in the notebook. I'll make sure.
Yeah,
to
drop the
share it
link
on
in the
my
chat.
timeline.
All right, have a good night, everybody.